Hello, welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for following me along on my journey. You see in front of you a DHL International envelope, nice sturdy plastic envelope, and I'm really excited for what was inside. It was certainly an adventure to have it eventually arrive at my doorstep, and I did have to sign for it. And yes, it came from China. So I have a trivia question for my long-term viewers is, when was the last time I got a pen delivered to me by DHL? It's a pen that I haven't bought for a long time from that particular manufacturer. For all international packaging, it has a commercial invoice to declare customs value or any other bit of important information about the package. It came to me, I didn't have to pay any customs. So inside the package, very well wrapped in multiple layers of bubble wrap, was this box. The first thing you notice is it's a substantial box. It's big. But as we turn it around, we'll get a hint as to what this is. And yes, it's the PenBBS 492 Happy New Year 2020 fountain pen. As usual, we have some identification from PenBBS in Chinese. And that designation 492 is the pen model, and 001 may be the first model in the 492 series. That's my guess in 2020. But let's take this sleeve off and open up the package. The first thing we notice once we take the sleeve off is this nice PenBBS embossing on the top of the box, and there's nothing else in it, just a basic black box. The top of the box just comes right off. It pulls up. It's cardboard, but it's a substantial cardboard, and we see a pen and an ink bottle. The pen came in this sleeve with the number 97 written on it, so don't know whether this is 97 and how many they were made. But as we bring the pen out, we'll just see it's nice. I consider this very stylized. Really feels great in the hand. Very, very clear acrylic, which is what PenBBS has been known for. This top finial screws in. You can see those threads. This is my first kind of rose gold version of the pen. Interesting logo there at the top of the clip. As we turn around the cap band, we'll see a standard, well, not really standard, but a nice engraving there with another stylized logo, PenBBS and 2020. So no mistaking the year of the pen. The cap comes off in it's a little over one turn, so that's really nice. And we see a beautiful gold tone nib. It's stylized, and it has a rat on it because it's the year of the rat. From looking at that, I would say it's a standard upturned fine nib that we've had on many PenBBS models. The filling mechanism and filling system isn't exactly clear on how you do that. And there's another stylized rat at the bottom of the barrel. But I've saw the things on Instagram, and the top of the cap has a very strong magnet in it, and it is magnetically attracted to the top of that piston. And one would just think that you pull this up, and there we go, the piston comes up. So you're going to get a really, really full fill here because you don't have any piston rod that's going to get in the way. Cleaning it is also going to be the same type of thing. And that's a really, really strong magnet. So it's the first time I've ever seen a filling system like that. References to being a vintage style. I'll do some research to see if I can find out about that. And because what would be a commemorative pen without a commemorative ink bottle? And here we have one with, again, a stylized rat on the top of the cap. Really impressive ink bottle, well done. No labeling on it other than that logo at the top of the cap. And it looks like it's a nice design, nice wide opening. So we'll see what ink we want to put in there to potentially fill the pen with. So that's my first view. I'm going to obviously explore the pen a little bit more and decide on what ink. It's not exactly obvious to me what ink to put in here, but I'll come up with something. Let me go off and do that, and I'll be back. So I'm impressed with attention to detail. One of the things that distinguishes an exceptional limited edition pen from a run-of-the-mill mass-produced, thousands of them, but there's some really nice engraving on that magnetic piston. The PenBBS logo is there, just as we saw on the top of the box. And there's another logo in 2020, and that same logo repeated. So that's pretty interesting. And a lot of times that's on the cap band, but here they've also put something on that magnetic metal bit on the piston. Speaking of attention to details and limited edition pens, there's that 97 inside of the rat. So it is a numbered pen. I think that's a first for PenBBS. Well, I've disassembled, and this is as much as I'm going to take it apart. I did flush the nib and feed. I wasn't able to pull the nib and feed out of this assembly. I think I could follow some advice that I've given another pen reviewer. If I would probably run hot water over this collar, that would expand it and allow me to pull out the nib and feed. But I got tons of collars, and I don't see any reason why I would ever want to replace this nib in this pen. The top finial and the cap and the bottom finial and the barrel do unscrew, but I'm not going to do that. You know, one thing people talked about is this is a very strong magnet in the top of the cap. But as we see, the nib is not magnetic. But it really does attract that magnet in the barrel, which is good because that's how it fills. So I could spend hours playing with this. You know, magnets are fun. So I wanted to compare these rats in their different form factors. The one at the top of the cap is similar to the one on the nib, and the one at the bottom of the barrel that has the 97 in it is slightly different. Interesting. This O-ring is in the place I would like it to be, which is above the threads. And I put a little bit of silicone grease, just a little bit on that O-ring and the threads. The O-ring there will keep that ink from saturating into the threads, where if it was below these threads, then the threads would get saturated with ink. And I think it just aesthetically makes for a better looking pen when you have this type of filling mechanism. I could do a whole video on buying through Tableau Focus, but we're just going to do a quick overview. I put a link up in the description. Here's the title page that you see. Here's the description, what it does. So basically, in order to buy outside of China from Tableau, you need an agent, and Tableau Focus is an agent. So the first thing I did was find long 37 PenBBS on Tableau, and it wasn't easy. Here's what a search for PenBBS shows. It shows no pens. But when I did find long 37, I found the 492. My first order was canceled. I went in and ordered it again. They said it was out of stock, but obviously it wasn't. I was going to originally buy the medium nib, but the price was twice what the fine nib was, so that's why I ended up with the fine instead of medium. Here's some descriptions included, which I think are pretty good. When I made my final payment for the final shipment, as you can see, within a day it cleared customs. So if you go back on Long 37, you can just look for the items that he has for sale, and here's how you go into PenBBS 500 model. You can see there's a lot of colors there and a lot of things to choose from. I also found some other interesting pens. Here's one Pilot 78G gift box. Here's an SKB Year of the Pig, which is a last year pen. Again, not easy to find. If you look at their writing section, you'll see that fountain pens isn't a defined category, so I thoroughly think this is a site that could be very rewarding over time. It is a challenge to use, and it just takes some experience and some getting around. The websites work fairly well. The translations are fairly good. The Chinese yuan to dollar conversion is fairly accurate, but it's off by a few dollars now and then. The canceled pen, they put the money into an account rather than refunding it to PayPal, which is nice that they do take PayPal. And I knew I was going to be buying more, paying for shipment, so it was easy to bring that down to zero. So that's it. Back to the pen. So what pens to compare this unique limited edition pen from PenBBS? Well, the first pen to compare it to is the 2019 New Year's pen, which is this one here. And this is the Snowflake edition. It's a 355. These are the ones that are decaled on. Rumor has it that some of them were etched in, but it'll be a rumor until I can confirm it. And they had a unique engraving in the nib to celebrate 2019 with a similar design pattern that was in the cap and barrel. And this nib is more of a medium style nib. It's that straight nib and has a little bit more tipping material on it. So the 355 was their kind of flagship pen when it came out in this edition. I think it was one of the early releases of the 355. But it's not the first matte gold pen that they've done, but certainly the first matte gold pen they've done in this particular matte gold color. Now here's the previous one on a 456, which is my two-tone version. And there's also one that I got, which I really love in the 456 model. As you can see, it's inked up and it's used on a daily basis. It's one of my favorite pens to write with. I just, I'm torn with this pen at a number of different levels. Yes, that's an interesting, cool design element here in the cap that mimics that sword clip. They have a little logo on the clip, which is the first time that's happened. The nib almost kind of lines up there with the clip, which is nice. Obviously, it's multiple threaded, so as you unscrew it, it clicks in different spots. So you have to work on getting that nib just behind the clip if that's what you want. I think the engravings are very clean on this pen. The plating is very, very nice. Too much of a pen almost for me. I feel like I'm not worthy of owning this pen, but obviously I do, and I will enjoy it. PenBBS did do a Year of the Pig pen in 2019. It was a 471. And it has these interesting engravings on the barrel, and it shows the year there at the bottom, 2019. And the nib also is customized. It has that stylized the face of a pig, the year 2019, some Chinese, and then PenBBS China. So another unique 471 is this one here in clear, like the 355 version, but this has kind of like fireworks on it, fireworks on the nib, but no reference to a new year. Just wanted to show you how the engraved markings compared to the decal ones, using them on a limited edition pen. I'm an engineer and I think about things and I study things, and certain phenomena intrigue me, and magnetism was one of those that I was drawn to when I was young. So this pen has got me thinking again about magnets, about how they work. Magnets have polarity, and that polarity is described as a north-south pole, kind of similar to what the Earth has. And that's exhibited in the way the magnets work on this pen. If you bring the cap to that metal magnet above the piston, it only connects in one spot. And it is very, very strong. If you try to connect it to the other spot, you'll feel that it is repulsed because the poles are the same. The other thing interesting with polarity is this is radial polarity. This is a different type. Here's an illustration of that. So as you can see, it easily attaches, and occasionally the piston is reluctant to move. And of course now we have an example of that. I have to do it off camera, but just to show you that. So as you can see, here's just another round magnet. And again, it also has polarity, and you saw how the cap just attracted to that one side, but certainly not the other side. And this magnet, even though it's fairly strong, is not strong enough to move that piston. It easily comes off. So speaking of the piston, I think they've used a nice kind of like clear silicone seal there, which should have a long life and should provide a lot of seal. To me, the challenge over time with using a pen or piston fill pen like that, and I've had it in some of my piston fills, especially demonstrators, because you won't see it if the barrel is not transparent, but ink will get past the piston for various reasons. So occasionally you need to clean out above the piston, and that probably is going to require some effort. The piston doesn't come out this end. So it looks like that is screwed on. So at one point in time, in the distant future, I hope, I may have to try to take it apart, but that's not going to be part of this video. So hopefully you'd like this little exploration into magnets. And we're going to end with the fact that at the bottom of the barrel is a magnet that the cap kind of attaches to, but certainly not as strong as it does to that magnet in there. And since it doesn't post under the, you can post it normally, but it backweights the pen a decent amount, but it's still usable. And it's a fairly secure post. But I just think it would have been fun if they would have had that be stronger, so it would actually, it does kind of like work a little bit, but it's easy to fall off. For those of you that may be concerned about that example of the piston being stuck and not being able to use by the magnet, I just remembered how the 309s have a problem. So what I did was I just used the magnet to turn that piston, and then it moved up and down easily like it did before. So that's the trick. If the piston doesn't move, just attach the cap and then turn the barrel, and that'll turn that piston and free it up from the adhesion that it'll have to the inside of the barrel. Hopefully that's something that will help out some of you that may own this pen. Now, we have to show the pen being filled live on video. And I'm going to use this PenBBS ink, which is Mandarin Duck number 236. I had a sample form of this for a couple years, and the bottles were never available. I finally found this in stock from Van Ness, and it was part of my order of PenBBS inks. So let's see how the pen fills. I have problems sometimes getting these lids off. I do put them on very tight, and they do seem to tighten over time. So putting this rubber band on it makes it easier to get the cap off. So this ink is a very interesting, it's in the blue family, a little bit of purple, but let's see how it works in the pen once we get the pen filled. So here's a color card. It's the shade of blue. I don't see any real sheen on it. If we bring in the chromatography, we'll see it seems to have a little bit of permanence here. And it's kind of blue. There's a very light kind of pinkish color at the very top, or kind of like a pinkish purple color. Again, it's how it looks when it is on paper put there by a nib. Well, we're ready. At least I'm as ready as I'm going to be. We need some exciting music in the background. I insert it up until the section is a little bit covered by the ink. And then we're going to pull up that piston, and wow, that's really pulling up ink. There's hardly any air there at all. And we're not going to go all the way to the top. That's plenty of ink. Well, this does work extremely well. So I've spent some time with the pen, writing with it, enjoying looking at it. And this is as good a pen as I have. You know, it's first of all, when we get to the writing sample, we'll discuss that, but the pen is extremely well made. The filling system works phenomenally well. The only way to get more ink is to eyedropper a pen. And then in a pen like this design, you just get a little bit more ink here if there wasn't a piston and this was just blocked off. I just enjoy looking at it. So since I filmed most of the video and this is the last part I'm filming, I got to give a big shout out to Doug Rathbun. I may be butchering his name, because he talked about the fact that there's a concave surface on that cap band, which I had not noticed until he talked about it. He also popped the piston out the front end once you remove the nib assembly. And it looks like the O-ring there is the same type of O-ring that PenBBS uses other places. So I have a whole supply of silicone O-rings to put in here if I ever need that. And I know I can take everything apart out the front end. But he also showed how this unscrews relatively easily. And I've heard that the whole pen unscrews relatively easily with, you know, you got to get a little bit of pressure, a little bit of effort. But you know, kudos to all the PenBBS people that are involved, that this is just, I say they hit not only out of the ballpark, they put it into orbit. I mean, this is extremely well done. I would put this up against pens that cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So let's talk pricing. The Chinese yuan pricing that I see in Taobao Focus, which is supposedly taken from Taobao, is $99. So even though I paid $80 some for this pen delivered, I still paid under the list price of the pen. It's hard to get a feel, and I don't really have any other way of really looking at this. So this pen is worth many, many times the price that I paid for it to have it delivered into my hands. Taobao Focus is a challenge. Doug talked about it. I think it's definitely a manageable challenge. You have to be comfortable with the pricing, because it doesn't seem to be very consistent. And I don't know, I think they have some type of discounting with Taobao, so when you buy it, you know, the price that you pay might be a little different than when they go to buy the pen. It might be a little different. So I have a lot of sympathy and respect for what they're trying to do, and I support them, and will probably buy a few more pens from them in the near future. And one of the things to do would be to bundle them, just like you would bundle on Etsy when you buy PenBBS pens. And hopefully that'll mitigate the shipping, or spread the shipping cost around along many pens. I know I've been babbling on for a while, but I just think I can't say enough about this pen. You know, that a little over one turn to get the cap off. That section feels great. We'll give you those dimensions. It fits well in the hand. And it's actually, considering the filling system and everything else, it's actually fairly light. We'll give you those weights. And I generally don't post, but I'm going to do a video on the whole concept of posting. And I'll talk about when I think posting in a pen with a clip is something that is very useful. But that's for another day, and I'm not going to predict when that day may be. But you can post it, and it does change the weight of the pen. I mean, this is light, and you don't even feel the pen in your hand. Putting the cap on, which has a lot of weight to it, as we showed, you feel that weight. I haven't written with this pen a lot posted because I haven't had a situation where I can't just, put the cap down like that and leave it set, and it's fine. I actually went on Reddit for a little bit, and every time I go on there, I just, it doesn't make me feel good. I don't find anything of interest there. I was looking for why Doug said there were only 500 pens made, but I can't confirm that number. That's what he said. He has a little bit lower number than mine, so who knows? I haven't seen anybody have one over 100 yet. If we see somebody with the pen numbered over 500, but considering it being going to be hard to put a 3-digit number there, they'd have to make that really, really tiny to fit onto the rat's butt, I think. But that's where it is. So I'm extremely happy that I was able to snag this pen. I'm very glad I've been adventurous and went out and bought it in a different manner, and one that, truthfully, I had some of my concerns about it. But I did their online chat, which is available for certain times during the day, and they were very, very helpful. They answered my questions very quickly, and they made me feel at ease with the purchasing process. Let's put the nib to paper. So I tried something a little bit different with the mic near the nib, is I put it on a piece of foam, because I think that the mic was resting on the paper, which is on a wooden countertop, and I think that was magnifying the sound and possibly not having it be accurate. So when I listen to this new version, I'll see if it's any good. And this is not really a skip. I had this pen uncapped for a long time, and as you can see, the flow is great. And this is super smooth. I mean, this is the best fine nib I've ever used from PenBBS. It is that upturned nib. It is that kind of like semi-fude, whatever you want to call it. I could write with this forever. And with that great ink supply, I don't have to worry about running out of ink, because, when I'm in a location where I need to take a lot of notes, I bring at least 3 pens with me. And a lot of times, sometimes it's not that they run out of ink, but sometimes they just stop writing on me. And I sometimes don't understand why, but that just happens. But this pen, I have strong feelings, is going to be an excellent performer. I don't know how much it's going to get out of the house as an everyday carry, because I would not be very happy if this pen ever was lost. And I know that I said I've only ever lost one pen in my entire life, and that was when I was traveling a lot. So, even though I still am concerned about it. So we're going to rate this pen, and hold on to your horses, it's going to get a 10. And it's going to get a check for everything. Design, construction, nib. It's just beautiful. It's a totally functional writing instrument. And as one other reviewer said, a great form and function instrument. What else can I say? We finally hit the 10. I didn't think we would ever do it, but I don't know what other pen I would ever rate as high as this one, but then never say never, as some people might say. I'm not going to go down through the list, because it would get 3 checks for everything. People are concerned about a whole bunch of strange things with magnets and, plastic on plastic, because when you slide this up and down, and Doug's saying you just put a little piece of cloth in between it and it still works. So there's lots of reasons to not want to buy this pen if you want to think about them, but there aren't any. If you get this pen in your hand, you're going to be very, very happy with it. And that's all I can say. So we've reached the end. The video got pretty long, but hopefully there was a lot of information in here that you found valuable. So thank you for watching. And you notice during that long talk, it started right up. So that other one was for many minutes when it was uncapped. May you have many phenomenal, exceptional, mind-numbing writing experiences with an instrument that you love to use and love to hold, and especially encourages you to put ink on paper, and that's what it's all about. So this is the end for now. We're going to say bye until the next video, and I like this ink too.